Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Raynell and I am a card maker. I ran into a problem yesterday because I stamped an image from this Simon Says stamped image and it was too large. Usually my images they take up a small amount on my card base. However, this one is huge. It takes up almost the entire face of the card. And so the problem I ran into was where to put the sentiment. Now, I could do with no sentiment at all, and that wouldn't have been a problem. But I really wanted to put this sentiment on. Put a sentiment on. So I thought, well, I could make a banner across the middle. I could make a small banner and just put it across the bottom. But that just didn't resonate with me. So what I did was I put it on the bottom and I hid the image behind the sentiment. Now, that doesn't sound like anything out of the sound abnormal. However, the base layer I put underneath the sentiment and the sentiment on top of it, so it looks like it is hidden underneath the sentiment. This sentiment is a May Made It stamp set, and it's called the Bouquet of Blessing, and it is May the Lord bless you and keep you. And that's what sentiment I wanted to use on this card. So let me show you how I did it. This image comes from the Simon Says stamps called Sunshine Flowers. It also has another beautiful little vase of flowers, but this is the one that I stamped first. I also cut it out, and then I cut a mat for it out of blue. And because the mat was a darker color, I wanted to put it on a lighter base, which is where I came up with the white. To make the sentiment strip across the bottom, I took my Designer Series paper and I cut it at 4 1/4 inches, which was the width of my card base. My card base is 4 1/4 by 8 1/2. So I want to cut this at the width of my card base, which is 4 1/4. Now also, this bottom portion is 2 3/4 by 1 inch at the angle. So I want to cut a piece that is 2 3/4 inches. Now from that 2 3/4 inches, I want the top to be this portion and the bottom to be this portion. So I'm going to start my cut at the point in my little gutter, and I'm going to move this bottom edge over to the 1 inch mark. And that gives me 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. Now, I may have to trim off a little, but I'll do that after I finish the card. Now, for my sentiment strip that I will place on top of my image, it is going to be 1/4 inch smaller, which this will be 4 inches by 2 1/2, and this here will be 3/4 inch. So let's cut that. So we want to cut our sentiment strip at 4 inches by 2 1/2 inches. And again, we're going to start at the top And we're going to move our bottom to the 3/4 inch. And therefore our sentiment will sit directly on top of our designer series paper. Our stamp set is a May Made It stamp set, and it is called Bouquet of Blessings. And if you haven't seen this little jobby, you're going to want to go get one of these, because it is a stamp positioner from My Sweet Petunia, and you can find them at May Made It. Now, I'm going to stamp my stamp set. The one I'm using is May the Lord bless you and keep you. So the first stamp I'm using is May the Lord, and I want to place that right up and as close to the edge as I can get. I'm using black VersaFine ink, and this little jobby has one side for clear and one side for rubber. So I'm placing it. Adding my ink. I like to hold that as I get it in place. And so I have May the Lord. Clean my stamp. I just use a baby wipe, but I make sure that I get all of the black ink, and I do it very quickly so the ink does not have time to dry. Now the other stamp I want to use is Bless You and Keep You. I'm actually going to turn this around to where it fits right up against there. And I have just enough room to put Bless You and Keep You. I want to make sure that I get that on straight, which I don't have it on straight. And so we have our sentiment. May the Lord bless you and keep you, number 624. Now let's glue our card together. I'm going to start with the designer series paper. And I'm going to position it to the left side, because I did notice excuse me, that I may have to cut some of the edge off on this side. So there is a small amount to cut off. Next, we're going to take our image. I'm going to glue it to the backing or the mat. Now this is old designer series paper, probably 2000. Well, I don't really even know. It's in the teens, I think. Then we're going to position it. Now, I thought about doing it this way, and that would work just great as well. But, you know, I liked this big flower right at the top. And so what we're going to do is now we're going to cut off part of this, part of the flower. And we're going to position it where we want. I'm going to use dimensionals on this because I do want to pop it up a small amount. Now, if you're wondering, this is glazing tape is what it is, and I get it from Amazon, and it's just called glazing tape, and I get it in a huge roll. And it lasts me quite a while. It's pretty easy to peel off. That's one of the reasons I really like this. They use it to put glass on frames and things like that. I found it because my son works in construction, and he showed me, actually he gave me a roll to begin with, and I fell in love with it. Now we want to go ahead and we want to add our sentiment. Now I'm going to pop it up as well, so I want to add the glazing tape or dimensionals, whatever you want to call it, to the sides and to the bottom. And I have to say that worked out perfect. I'm going to add a little glue right here in the center. And my positioning is going to be with the border around, so you can see the outside edge of the Designer Series paper. Now I've left a little room because I'm going to trim that off. But there you go. Let me trim this off a little bit. That's what I did with an image that was too big. I hid it underneath the sentiment. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you try this technique as well. I have been really pleased with it. Thank you for joining me. Have a nice day.